Hey everybody, welcome back to Cowardly Dog Howloween Marathon. Today we're going to be talking about, let's see here. Part of Swamp Monster, Goat Pain, Muriel blows up, and profiles and courage. So these episodes are really interesting. First one is part of Swamp Monster. Now, part of Swamp Monster, Muriel, Courage, and Eustace all go to um, this a pawn shop, I guess you could say, and they, start buying, and Reese's buys a locket for her, and she puts Courage's picks her in one half, and Eustace's picks her in the other, and they get out, and they go out, and then on the way home, Eustace doesn't pay attention to the road, and they land in a swamp. And the lock is lost in the swamp water. Of course, when it drops down to the bottom, of course, the truck is stuck, and Eustace finally gets the truck out of the swamp and by scaring Courage, and of course, the locket is all the way down to the bottom of the swamp where the swamp monster is. And he looks at it and he's like, Swamp Woman. And so he goes on a search for Muriel, who he thinks is Swamp Woman. So Muriel uses a guards get home and they see a and then this swamp monster, he's a big thing by the way, goes by the store and scares the poor owner because he doesn't tell him where Swamp Woman is. And then he goes, and while they're watching TV, they see what happens to the other establishments he goes to. And of course, he then Muriel sees the farmhouse, and the swamp monster is seen walking towards there. He picks Muriel up and takes her down to the bottom of the swamp. Of course, the swamp monster. So Curious goes back to his computer and asks him about the whereabouts of the real swamp monster's wife. So he finds out that she is at a post office in a different country. So he goes there and finds her, and she has, I guess you could say, short-term memory, because she tells him everything, and then she's like, "Oh, how are you?" And there's a point where he goes, "What are we talking about?" So they go out. So he tells her what's going on. And he can't believe he can't remember who she was. So they go back to the swamp, and the swamp monster decides to marry Muriel, and they talk about what's going on, and then when they even he forgot the things that everybody forgets too. So Curtis takes it back up, and we hear an argument between her and between the Swamp Woman and the Swamp Monster. And he goes, "Hey, when did we live on the water?" And of course, he gets this, lock it back. All right, so the next episode is called Goat Pain. So the episode opens up with Muriel sitting in bed with back pain, and Eustace wants breakfast, and since she has back pains, she can't make it. So they take her to the doctor again, And he does some stupid stuff, like smacking him back with a mallet, um, make a plastic duck toy, walk across it. I mean, come on. You don't do that to a patient. And even with the lamp. So, he tells Courage that there is a healing spring. But there's a problem. Nobody has come back from that place. So they go there and they climb up, and there's this goat on top who has a big set of horns. And he tells them that to go back. But the goat, insists on using the hot springs. Of course, Eustace gets bucked off the mountain, and then the goat decides to let Muriel and Kurt see the what used to be the springs, and it's all dried up. And then he tells them the reason why it's dried up is because there was locals. Originally, it was a hot spring for him and his kind, but locals came by and kicked him out. And since then, he's been growing these big horns to knock everyone out of there. So he starts throwing hitting rocks at him. And of course, he has a pin in his neck every time he does it. So, eventually, the avoid the rocks, and Kurt walks up to the top, and the goat starts smacking ramming into him, and then he eventually comes down and unplugs the. Kurt is in a wheelchair with busted leg and everything, and he unplugs the spring, which has a bottle in it. That's why it dried up. And so Muriel is feeling better, and she tells Courage maybe they should give him a treatment. So he does, Oh, by the way, Eustace is found by this Bigfoot, by the way. So Courage puts the goat back in there and goes in the hot spring, and he starts feeling better, and then Courage falls down his horn, and Muriel tells him, "You look like $1,000,000, goats." And so Courage cleans up the spring, and Eustace comes up with this Bigfoot, and that is the episode. Alright, so next episode is Muriel blows up. It's not in this order. On Boomerang, by the way. So the episode begins with Muriel and Eustace watching a war movie. And Kurt doesn't like a lot of things. So Eustace goes, boom! And Kurt looks outside of the window, and there's this carrot that's kind of a missile, and it explodes over the farmhouse. Of course, the next day, they always wake up, and there's this big carrot, like a huge carrot, in the middle of her field. So she goes in and eats it. Of course, Eustace doesn't like carrots. So, this carrot is a missile, and this missile is explosive. So what happens next is Muriel starts growing big. After she eats about, I guess, a quarter of it, and she continues to grow more and more. And Eustace finds out that this thing is worth $10 million. So he tells Muriel to spit it up. And of course, Courage takes him upstairs to assess what's going on. And he puts his camera down her throat. And there's this, I guess, carrot that's like a bomb. And he goes, grow, expand, explode, grow, explode. And, and by the way, if she grows bigger than a farmhouse, she'll explode. According to the government. So Eustace throws Courage into Muriel's mouth, into her stomach. And Courage decides to try to, get it off of her insides. And so, after a few failed attempts, he eats the carrot. And now he's bigger than the house. So they go to the government, and he goes to the government, and they're torturing this soldier. So the commander goes inside Courage and pulls off the front, and then he decides it's time and then he's pulls off the Courage's helmet and starts snipping it. And obviously, Courage is now it's disarmed. And Courage coughs up both the carrot and the commander. Of course, Eustace comes up and starts eating the carrot. And he's like, that carrot is worthless now. I cut the green wire. And so I was like, oh. Blue wire? Red wire. And Eustace explodes. And when Courage goes back home, he's sent back home, by explosion, there's more carrots. And Muriel starts eating it in a stew. Alright, so the last episode is football's encouraged. So this episode opens up with them being at a fair. And this guy has these shadow cutouts. And he wants them to be alive. Of course, since they're not lifelike, they can't be alive. So, Courage, Muriel, and Eustace are all at this fair, and then they see these cutouts. So, Muriel decides to let this guy create cutouts of themselves. So he does, and he lets them go home with it, but of course they're alive. So on the way home, they start moving. And when the farmer one takes hold of Eustace and becomes him, and then so is Muriel's. And both of them start living out days. Like, the Muriel one knitting, and Eustace sitting there. And of course, they go about their lives like making tea and fixing the truck. Obviously, they both fail at this, with Muriel burning her hand, and Eustace getting his hand stuck in the truck. Of course, Courage, douses her with water, which obviously water and paper don't mix. So he hangs Muriel out to dry, and Eustace one out. And they both wonder has everybody wonder what it's like to be human? And Eustace goes, nope. And says, I want everyone to know this is what it's like to be paper. And so Courage starts drawing on them. And with crayons. And then he starts folding them into different things, like a giraffe and a dog. And then he takes Eustace and turns him, and the Eustace one, he tells him, and the Eustace one says, do me, stupid, good dog. And so he does, he turns him into a pirate hat. And then he turns the Muriel one into a plane. Of course, that the guy from before comes up to him, and he sees him happy. Of course, they both bring Muriel and Eustace back to life. And eventually he comes out and he sees that both Muriel and Eustace drawings are both happy. And so he takes them home, and Courage decides to make his own silhouette kind of carvings out of him. And he's seen turn flat. Alright, so next time we're going to talk about The Mask. Squatting Tiger, Hidden Dog, and Muted Muriel. By the way, the reason why there's only 3 parts of those episodes is because The Mask is a 2-part episode. So, like, comment, subscribe, share. I'll see you guys tomorrow.